My name is Myandis, and today we have for you a short piece by the author Anata Britt, entitled Because It's There. Let us begin. Because it's there. These three words were spoken by human George Malroy when asked why he was attempting to climb Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on the human home planet of Earth, based on the measuring system used at the time. Now, it is not like the hoverpack excursions common with tourists, fond of visiting the heights of our own worlds. This was back before humans had even developed personal flight systems. What flight systems were in use mostly relied on such primitive propulsion systems that any attempt to use them in the extreme weather conditions surrounding Everest would have led to certain disaster. George Malroy attempted the ascent with nothing more than heavy clothing comprised of natural fibers and animal skin. Yes, that's right. He had no synthetic fibers or integrated heating elements. Primitive metal tools and a breathing apparatus so rudimentary he deliberately chose his companion for the ascent, an Andrew Irvine, because of his skill at keeping the unreliable system functioning. Anyone who has studied Earth's pre-weather control environment will now realize just how outside the realm of reason this ascent truly was. At the time, Everest was a known killer, and indeed, for well over a century afterwards, would routinely claim the lives of those attempting the ascent, until human technology caught up to human ambition. So why did he do it? Why did he risk and ultimately lose his life in attempting to reach the summit? Because it was there. Bear these three words in mind in your dealings with them. Humans do not need a reason to attempt the impossible. They don't even need an excuse. To them, that a challenge exists is enough. They are the only species I have encountered whose sense of wonder and curiosity is capable of overpowering their sense of self-preservation. There is a word in their language, adventure, which means a trip or endeavor undertaken against great odds and despite great danger. They are endeavors that from the outset are known to be hazardous, difficult, and likely as not to end in the death of several of those who undertake them. Humans have these things for fun. They tell sanitized versions of them to their children in infancy, and then throughout adolescence and adulthood they are steeped in a culture that encourages them and all but worships those that perform them. In our culture, George Malroy would be an idiot who attempted a task to which he was unequal, with equipment that was insufficient. In theirs, he is a hero, a brave man who saw a challenge and attempted it without regard to its achievability. Now I know what you are thinking. I understand it. I thought the same. Such a drive and a culture that encourages and nurtures it is surely the sign of a race that will never achieve true civilization. Humans have already proved you wrong. The humans are a young race, mere babes in terms of their recorded history, which spans only a bare handful of millennia. Our scholars can trace the deeds and progress of our ancestors throughout almost 60,000 of our years, from our earliest writings to our ascent to the stars, with evidence of a prehistory development period that stretches back hundreds more. It was 22,000 of our years from our development of nation-states, agriculture, and urbanization to our first flight beyond the atmosphere of our home planet. Humans did it in less than half that. We began our development of extraplanetary flight and expanded it into colonization and asteroid mining when it became necessary, when we had outgrown the capability of our planet to support us. Humans did it because space was there. We choose not to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. John F. Kennedy, President, United States of America, Earth Nation State. Their real expansion into space, which began their advancement into solar orbit asteroid mining, coincided with an expansion into renewable energy and mastery of regenerative medicine that would have allowed them to maintain themselves on Earth for generations. They did not need the materials and capabilities that space expansion brought them. They wanted them. They wanted to go on adventures into the new unexplored frontier. Now do not make the additional mistake of thinking them naive because of their impulses. Anyone who has fought with their military, dealt with their corporations, or negotiated with their diplomats will call you a fool for doing so. Their military is savage, their corporations rapacious, and their diplomacy cutthroat. When their war with the Fifth Rama began, they were outclassed in numbers, technology, and economic production capacity, in some cases by orders of magnitude. Any student of military history will know how that war ended. They will have read of the accounts of shaken survivors that met their Reaver squads. They will have read about the holding action in the Battle of the Five Moons, where a mere handful of human battalions turned 3 full armored divisions into scrap metal and bloody offal. They will have seen the shattered psyche of the Fifth Rama survivors of the Battle of Kurith, a battle they ostensibly won by forcing the humans to retreat. The tales of barbarism and ruthless slaughter from these engagements are not fiction. They are not even hyperbole. They are a true reflection of what the human military can and will do when pressed. There is nothing physically special about humans that allows them to achieve these feats. Their bodies are well within the norms of sentient species for bone density and muscle mass. They are even on the slightly lower end of the spectrum. Their senses are no sharper than ours. Indeed, many consider the limited depth of perception and field of view provided by their binocular vision to be inferior to many other configurations. What allows humans to achieve the extraordinary is that the tales of the extraordinary are ordinary to them. Present humans with knowledge of a challenge, no matter how superficial or irrelevant to their needs. There will be some among them that step up to conquer it. They did not need to climb Everest, but they did. They did not need to ascend into orbit, but they did. They conquered them because they were there, and provided a challenge to the human adventurer. Bear the Fifth Rama in mind when you consider what the humans can do when they actually do need something. Do not ever assume that you will be able to overcome humanity with force of arms. Do not ever assume that you shall be able to cow them with a show of force. Do not ever assume that the mountain of your might is unclimbable by their forces, the heights of your intellect unscalable by their scientists. If you do, be assured, one day a human adventurer shall look upon your peak and think to themselves, because it's there. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe if you like what I do here, and before I head out tonight, I would like to give a bit of a shout out to the author of The Human Race, Sakamoto, who has given me several suggestions on how to improve my channel in its early stages. With that, I bid you a fond farewell, and we'll see you Friday. Also, a little tidbit that I just thought of. One of the ways that I address my friends in public is to shout at them, "Shalom, bitches." Would you guys like that as your introduction? So instead of, "Hello and welcome to audio only," we would have, "Shalom, bitches, welcome to audio only." Alright, go ahead and leave something in the comments, and we'll see if I actually keep this in the video. Alright, have a nice one, y'alls.